Hello, everybody. I'm Garrett Reisman.
And I'm Mike Massimino. And together we are two funny astronauts.
Or so we hope.
Yeah, so we hope. So
Yeah.
don't hold us to the standard of funny people. We're not claiming to be funny people. We're just claiming to be funny for astronauts. Right,
Yeah.
Garrett?
It's a low bar. It's a low bar.
Very low bar.
If you knew astronauts like we knew astronauts, you know that that's not saying much.
They're not funny. They're not funny. No.
Well, there's some. There are others that are funny, but in general,
I'm just trying to follow your lead, man. I don't know.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about advanced survival training.
For those of you who are just listening, Garrett just put a butter knife in his mouth.
It's still
as if he was out there in
you see, there's still
butter knife.
Left over from toast this morning.
But survival training advanced, meaning you might take a knife with you. We brought our Leathermans with us, stuff like that.
That's right. That's right.
Jackknife or something, because you might need it out there. Yeah. So we've talked. We've talked before about different survival courses, but this is a little bit different now that we're getting into. Is more like a team building sort of events to get us used to being out away from home and dealing in these certain extreme environments that they would put us in. Yeah,
that's right.
So the survival component of it, but there was a reason why we started. The survival training was always there, but some of these things that we did with the National Outdoor Leadership School and cold weather training, and what you did for the underwater habitat, that was fairly new to NASA when we first got there, Garrett. They weren't doing that sort of stuff, I don't think, as much before we got there, because they were doing short flights. A lot of this came, the shuttle flights are only about a couple weeks. And when about the time that we arrived at NASA, they were looking forward to putting people in space for longer periods of time, and they needed ways to train us to do that. And so there was a purpose toward these sorts of experiences to get us used to being in these extreme environments for longer periods of time than what we would normally have done in the past.
Right. Yeah. So before we talked about the water survival training and the land survival training, that was all really predicated upon making sure that we can handle ourselves if we had to use our ejection seats and pop out of a T-38 and take care of ourselves if we came down in the wilderness, too far away from a Starbucks. That was what that was all about. And that was always the case. But what Mike's saying is absolutely right. Two things changed. One is we started doing these long duration missions. And so we had a new focus on, working together as a team. Look, when you fly like for a couple of weeks on a shuttle mission, you can get along with almost anybody for a couple of weeks if you're going to have this incredible experience. But when you're up there for like 6 months, it's a different story. All right. Things start really pissing you off. And so we studied things like how to do expeditionary behavior, basically all the stuff you learn in kindergarten, but at a more advanced level. So to do that, they started doing these survival exercises, but they were really more about learning how to work together as a team under stress. The other thing that changed was we started flying with the Russians. So if you're going to fly in the Russian Soyuz, you had to go over and do their winter survival and their water survival, which was a whole different animal, which we'll talk about later, I guess. But
And
so those are the two.
Do you want to start with that? Do you want to start with the Russian stuff, or do you want to get into the more the advanced things? Why don't we start with your? You want to start with your Russian experience, and then we can move on to the other things.
Sure. So we could start with that.
Because I never got to do that stuff. I was scheduled to do the Russian water survival, and I don't know what happened. I was all set to go, and it was just like early in my astronaut time, early in my astronaut career, and then I think we were leaving for like on a Sunday or a Monday for the trip. And it was right at the end of the fiscal year. And we were going to go there like October the 1st. Mm-hmm. And apparently we weren't in like a shutdown for the government, but it was a continuing resolution or some kind of budgetary issue. And they're like, no, we don't have the money to send you. You're not going. So I remember getting a call. If we were leaving on a Monday, like a Sunday night, I got the call. You're not going anywhere. And I had to figure out something else to do that week, I guess. But I never had a chance to go through that training. So. Yeah. What was that? Was that similar to what they did? What did they do to you? Was it similar to what you did in the U.S.?
No.
Or it was a little different, right?
No, it was yeah, it wasn't like it was totally it was very, very Russian, these things. Did you could you even fit in the Soyuz mask? You're a tall guy. Like, would you it would be
Yeah,
miserable for you in there, I think.
I don't know. I think when they looked at the numbers, they thought I would be able to because a lot of it is in your it's in your sitting height. Like
Mhm.
well, one of our friends wasn't able to do it. I know because his sitting height was too large, and they're like, "No, you can't do it." But with me, you know, I think my sitting height was okay. It was just my legs would have been in my face. I mean, even that simulator that they had at the Johnson Space Center, you know, my knees were kind of like right in my. And I did go on a Soyuz in The Big Bang Theory, but that wasn't real. That was a make believe TV show. But I did to get inside of a make believe one, and even that was
Mhm.
a little tight. So I don't know. I would have been pretty tight, but I might have been able to fit because I never was assigned to a
Let me tell
flight
you that
that
it
required a Soyuz. They never found out. They would have to check me out for
yeah,
real and then do all the things in Russia to do the measurements.
mass.
But they
I
thought
don't think
there's a good chance I would have.
I don't think that counts on the TV show set. You know, I mean, I went to Disney World once. I got a picture with Chewbacca, but I'm not saying I was on the Millennium Falcon. Okay, I'm just I think that doesn't count.
I know, but I was trying to be funny because this is funny astronauts. But I did with the Big Bang Theory guys. I did tell them that in order to have Garrett, what do you need for a real space flight? You need three things.
Mhm.
You need a crew photo, you need a patch,
Yes.
and you need a space flight. So with the Big Bang Theory, we took a crew photo.
Mhm.
There was a patch that was designed for our mission. We didn't get the real mission, so we had 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
I think
that's
we're pretty close.
2/3.
Yeah.
You're practically there.
Well, we were talking about. Let's get back to your training experience. What was that like? Out over there. Did I miss anything by not participating?
Yeah, you missed torture is what you missed. You missed torture. All right. Like so we go down there. So the first one we did was the water survival. And for that we flew down to Sevastopol in the Ukraine. It was still part of the Ukraine back then. Although they're
What
yeah,
was the name of that place?
Sevastopol. It's in yeah, it's in Crimea over there, which is now kind of Russia kind of grabbed that back, but that's a long story. So anyway, we were down there and we go out on the Black Sea in the summer and it's hot, you know, and I'm like, why are we doing this when it's so hot? We're training for like coming down in the North Atlantic or somewhere where like if you come down in the Soyuz and you splash into the water, you have to be able to like survive this cold, frigid and so we had to put on like these like immersion rubber suits and stuff and but we're doing it in the summer where it's like Miami Beach out there and it's like so warm and I'm like and it's because like they filled up this massive cargo plane, this massive Russian like I don't know IL-72, like this massive Ruski plane, and it was us, the whole training team. You know, they had the capsule that we used to for the simulator, and like all their families, like their kids, they're like their grandmothers. They all got on this giant plane because they're going on vacation. And they don't want to go there and just sit on the beach in the winter. They want to go in the summer when
So this was all right. Wait. Run this back for me. So these are the instructors that were with you.
yeah, and their families.
Wow.
Yeah,
And these are not military people, are they? They're not like the Navy and
they're like
and Air
I
Force
think
people that trained us. It sounds like
no,
in America.
they were Star City employees. I think that was Russian Air Force. They actually were part of the Russian Air Force, but you know, but you know the 12-year-old daughter that came on the plane wasn't part of the Air Force. I don't think, you know. And then
So they
the
were
Babushkin.
planning a vacation. They were
Yeah,
planning
they're
a
making- they're
vacation and
making-
needed an excuse.
Yeah. You know, if you live in Moscow, it's freaking cold up there, man. You got a chance to get in a big jet and go down someplace where there's warm water, you take it. All right. so we fly
That's
down
funny.
there, and now we're getting in there, and these
Are they
two
with
guys.
you? You're in the plane with these people?
Oh yeah,
You're in the plane with
we're in the plane, and it's a party in there. They got the bottles of the vodka, they got the sausages, they got the. It's a big party. They're lying on the ramp that opens in the back of the plane. They let the tanks out, you know. And I'm like,
Really?
what if that thing opens? I don't want to lie in that thing. I'm going up there. To
What
the
are you
front.
lying on the Wow.
Yeah, I was afraid that thing was
Geez,
going to
one
like
big party.
snap open. Huh?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a regular you weren't on like what Aeroflat jetliner. This was a military plane.
We were in an Aeroflot. Actually, it wasn't Aeroflot. It was even worse. It was a Russian domestic airliner coming back. And I got that. Let me get to that story at the end because that's. Well, I'll tell you that story now.
But going there, you're there with a bunch of instructors with their families, their kids. They have their floaty toys and everything.
They got the. They're bringing
the sunscreen.
The whole. Yeah, they're bringing on their floaties, their buckets and shovels for the sandcastles. Yeah, they got all that. Wow. So we go down there, and then we're on the boat. This big Russian Navy boat. We sail out there into the Black Sea, and it's hot. It's hot, and there's this one big Russian dude. All right. Standing out there, like in there's no shade at all. He's standing on the back of the ship, and he's wearing like just a Speedo, just a Speedo, not another stitch of clothing. This huge, like bear of a man, right? And I walk up, and he's got the whitest skin. Okay, he's like Moby Dick on a bed of rice. This guy was like so pale because he lived in Moscow like the whole winter. He didn't see any sun, so he's just you remember just. He's like as white as like Clay Anderson. He's like really white.
Do you remember his white on Moby Dick on Rice?
Yes,
is pretty white. Do you remember his name?
It's probably Sergey, but that's like a 50-50
Okay, that's
shot.
a good one. All right, okay.
Yeah. So Sergey's out there, and I walk up to him, and I'm like, sunscreen?
You probably need a lot of it.
I'm like, I got plenty. You want something? He goes, Niet. Я хотел бы загорел, which means he wants to get a suntan. I'm like, dude, you're gonna get you're gonna roast out here. And he's like, but look, when what
was his job? What was Sergey's job? Was he there as an instructor?
He was like the deckhand that was like hooking up the crane to the capsule that we were gonna hoist into the water, and he was handling all the heavy machinery. He was this big guy.
That's hilarious.
So
the kids were with you on the ship, or did they stay by?
No,
they stayed in the resort area or whatever.
It was a Russian Navy ship, so they were out. They were doing whatever they were building their sandcastles and playing with their floaties, and we didn't see it.
Yeah,
but we're out there on the ship, and it's hot. It's really hot. So the first two, they put two of these Malaysian guys. This is like the first. There's going to be the first Malaysian astronaut. And they got in with their Russian commander, and the three of them went into this thing. And what you do is you put on your spacesuit. So it's just like you're just coming back from space. The exercise is you got to take off the spacesuit, okay? You got to put on like all these wool sweaters and like wool sweatpants and like all this really warm clothing. And then you got to put on this rubber suit on top of all of that, okay? And you got to do this with three people in like the front seat of a VW Bug. I mean, it's this like tiny little. You would have been miserable. You're so lucky you didn't have.
It would have been. I would have been tight in there. Yeah, no doubt.
And these guys, they were like really gung ho because they hadn't figured out who was going to be prime and who was going to be backup. So they're both trying to outdo each other. And they get into this thing, and they're struggling. They were trying to work really fast to like set some kind of record or something. They came out and they almost died. I mean, they really were getting heat stroke. They measured their core temperature at 104. Which is not good.
Wow.
That's like have to go to the hospital, kind of like serious heat exhaustion. They plunged them into. They had these pools of fresh water on the deck of the boat that were freezing cold. They plunged them in there to get their body temperatures down.
Wow. Who was the Russian guy with them? You remember who the cosmonaut was?
I forgot. I think they actually were with an instructor. I think.
Oh, but then that makes sense.
So we see these guys come out, and they really almost died, right? And then the lead instructor turns to us and goes, "Your turn." We're not going to call this.
I tell you what, though, Garrett, it's always good to watch. We talked about that. It's always good to see someone else do it first when it comes to that. You know, you don't want to see what happens, right? And then, I'll go second. You know, let these guys go first. Who are you there with, though? Were you with another American or who?
So it was me, and my backup was Tim Kopra.
Oh, good. He's a good guy.
He's a great guy. We had a lot of fun. Tim and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So Tim Kopra was my backup. He was an Army, was a colonel, I think. He was a Army helicopter pilot. And then our Russian cosmonaut was Max Sarayev, who was another great guy. If this was two funny astronauts and one funny cosmonaut, then he could be on the show because he's a super funny guy. So now it's our turn. All right, Mass, we got to go do this after these guys like just died almost. And so we get into the thing, and it's myself, Tim Kopra, Max, and we're in no rush. We don't want to hurt anybody. We're gonna take our time, okay? We learn, like you said, we learn from watching the other guy, and we
It's
get in
always good
there.
to see the other guys.
That's right. And always always learn from their mistakes. So we get in there, and it's hot, but we're taking our time. We're being very efficient. We had a whole plan. We're taking off the spacesuits one at a time, no rush. And we start like getting into the groove, and we feel fine. You know, we're not overheating or nothing. And in fact, at one point, we start singing
Your
this
hatch is
Nelly
closed?
Furtado song. Huh?
Your hatch is closed while this is going on?
Oh yeah, the hatch is closed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
All right.
there's no ventilation
Okay.
at all. Yeah. So we start like, I don't know if it was Tim or maybe it was Max. I don't think it was me, but one of us starts singing this Nelly Furtado song that was popular at the time. Like it's
Fly
called
Like
"Say
a
It Right."
Bird?
You remember that song?
The fly like a bird song.
No. It was
That's
It
right.
was- it was
So
a
you're
more,
flying. It's
yeah. I know that would have been appropriate, but that wasn't it. It was the "Say It Right, Take It Right," but I can't do it.
oh that puts a whole new spin on what's going on inside of that spacecraft.
Yeah.
If it was fly like a bird, it would have made sense. I don't know about this other thing, disco stuff. All right, go
No,
ahead.
I was like, "Day and night, take it right." I can't do it. I'm no Nelly Furtado, all right. But anyway, we start like, and we're like dancing in there. We're dancing. We're like doing the thing, and it's fine. It's fine. It's a little hot, but it was fine. We get through the whole thing, and we come on out, and there's the Sergey guy still up there in his Speedo, not an ounce of shade the whole day. That night he turns completely red like a lobster. He's like, and he comes up to me, and you could tell like he could barely move because it's so painful. Like it's like, yeah, he's completely fried. He goes, "Vichatiti moi zagalit." He's like, "Do you like my suntan?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's great. It's great, buddy." And then then it's all over. And then we went out in the town. We had a great time. Sevastopol, at least back then, it was like a party town. I mean, there were all these clubs. We had a really good evening.
Run the name of this place. I'm just keep hearing Ted Koppel. What's the name of the place? Can you teach me how to say? What is it?
Sevastopol.
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 Sevastopol. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
It's
a party town.
It's a party town. Yeah, it's like a big Russian naval base, but it's a party town now. So we had this great night. And then the next morning we wake up, we have to go to the airport, and we felt like terrible. We're from all the drinking and having a good time. And so we're in no condition, but we get in the bus and we go to the airport, and now we have to get on this Russian domestic airliner, all right, to fly home. We didn't have the big cargo plane to fly home. And we got on this thing, and it's like held together with duct tape. Like the seats were missing with no explanation. There'd just be like a row of seats that are just like missing, and the upholstery is all ripped. I mean, it was like really bad. But we're just so happy to sit down and be able to close my eyes. But before I went to sleep, I see there's this guy that was this guy was still completely intoxicated. All right, just completely fall down drunk. I gave him a little slack because he had a Yuri Gagarin t-shirt, which it was, so that was kind of cool. But he sits down right in the row across from us, and he's being loud and obnoxious. But I kind of ignored him, and I just wanted to get some shut eye, so I just went to sleep. And I woke up like well after we're in the air, and I look at Tim, and Tim's got this look on it. Colonel Coper, he's got a look on his face like, and I'm like, "What? He goes, "I can't believe you slept through that." I'm like, "What are you talking about, Tim? What happened?" So apparently, what happened was this guy was just being so obnoxious and like was being aggressive towards the flight attendants and everything, that at one point, Max Sarayev, our cosmonaut commander, gets up out of his seat, goes over and grabs the guy by the shirt, yanks him out of his chair, drags him down the center aisle, all the way to the back of the plane, shoves him into an empty row of seats, and he says, "You get out of that seat, you're dead. I will kill you." And then came back and sat down. So I guess, when you're flying Russian domestic, if you have a problem with another passenger, you don't hit the call button. You don't hit, the ding. You just take matters into your own hands, and that's how it's done.
All right. Wait, I got a couple questions here. Number one,
Okay.
the whole exercise that you went over there for was just to get in and out of your spacesuits inside of the spacecraft. It wasn't anything else. You didn't have to float around or eat a fish, catch.
After we changed clothes, then we opened the hatch, and then we hop out into the water and deploy the life preservers, and that's a great relief because once you get in the water, then it's a lot cooler and it feels a lot better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's the end of the exercise, basically. Yeah, you just got to get out.
Now, so it was a one day thing.
We were out there. I think we might have been out on the water for 2 different days. We did
Mhm.
2 different evolutions of this. One was you just like the thing is sinking. You have to get out as quickly as you can, and you just hop out in your
Oh,
spacesuits and hope the water's not too
okay.
cold. The other one, we have to go through the whole process and the rigmarole of putting on the immersion suit and as if you're in cold water.
Okay. And I
Yeah.
guess they couldn't fly you back in the better airliner because that was waiting for the little kids with their toys. That was a
I think
priority.
the cargo plane already went back with all with all the boogie boards and the and the floaties.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
needed. I'm sorry, that's not available. Wow.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
episode that you described on this, you were going back to Moscow, I guess, with that airplane. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
When you're flying back, and
Yeah.
you slept through the whole thing.
I slept through the whole altercation. And the guy, I saw him at the baggage claim, but he never got out of his seat because Max Sarayev, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a physically imposing guy, and he took him at his word about the death threat. So no, he never got out of that seat.
Wow.
We saw him when we landed.
That's pretty impressive. And then
Mm.
that was, I mean, so that was a special trip. You never flew on the Soyuz, but I guess did you think you were going to fly on Soyuz at some point? Is that what that was about, or that whole thing
Yeah,
to do
it
that?
was for a while there. I was training to be the flight engineer, to be the left seat in the Soyuz, like the what what was that?
Oh, this?
Uh-huh. What?
Oh, this is my. If you can see, this is one of my Hubble mugs. Yeah, it says Hubble Space
Hubble,
Telescope
you
on
guys
it,
got mugs,
and
honestly?
it's all in like gold. Yeah,
You got
we had to
mugs?
buy these, but yeah,
You got so there's Hubble merch, is what you're telling me.
there is. We have a coin. There's a Hubble coin that just came out. We don't have it, but the United States government minted Hubble coins out of $1 coins. You can get those, and I've got a bunch of them. You have to, they cost $1, so they're worth $1. They're really nice. What kind of mug are you using there,
How
Garrett? What
come
do you have?
this is just a big goblet here. It's like I feel like King Arthur drinking out of this thing,
Yeah,
but it's great. The Holy Grail.
that's good. That's a good looking cup.
But but it's not STS 132 or ST. It doesn't say that. There's no
Why
like
don't you just
space
get a
station on this.
sticker?
We don't have
Why
space
don't you get
station
one?
mugs.
Get one of your
If I
stickers
put a
from your
sticker on this thing,
get a patch
I'd be
put
like
on
some
it.
kind of lame wannabe. Like I wish I
That's
was
what
a
I
Hubble
mean.
guy
It
and I
would,
have my mug.
that might be appropriate. Put your,
No,
know,
no, I'm
right.
not at all jealous of the Hubble guys. All right, I'm just not. I'm okay with this situation.
There's nothing to be jealous about, Garrett. This is fascinating what you're telling me here. So you were you were training to be in the Soyuz, but then you ended up flying up back and forth on shuttles. But he had
That's
to know
right.
how to use a Soyuz anyway, in case you had to get out of town quick when you were up there, right? That was part of the
Yes.
deal. Yeah,
That's right.
If you're
So
in
the
the States, you
Soyuz
have
is
to come
kind
out.
of
So
our
that's why-
lifeboat. Yeah.
right.
So if we had to evacuate the station, I needed to know how to like deal with that. So I trained on Soyuz, and I was originally thought I was going to fly up and launch on the Soyuz, but then they said, "Nah, we changed our mind. You're going on the shuttle." So I never
Yeah.
flew on the Soyuz at all, actually. But
I
I did all
remember
the
you
training.
telling me.
I did all the hazing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is a whole nother thing other than survival, but I remember some of your stories. You tell me that because you did move you around a little bit, right? You were going Soyuz and then you're going shuttle, Soyuz. But I remember you telling me something like they said, because this is years ago, guys. I'm having this flashback to maybe like 2003 or 4 or something like that. And you tell me that you were in whoever was the chief, Precourt Rommel's office or something. And they said that they were going to move you around. And I think you said, we were given these really good watches to train with. You remember the Omegas they would give us to train with? We had to give them back. We weren't allowed to, even the Hubble guys had to give them back. But we were allowed to train with them. And they're like, well, we're going to move you here to here. And I remember you saying something like, I have one question. Can I keep the watch? Is that what you said? You remember that?
That's right.
You remember?
I do. Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah,
So,
yeah. Can
yeah.
I keep the watch at least? Yeah, they
Yeah, can I keep? At least can I keep the watch? Yeah. But I remember you telling me that, like in the gym or something. how many years ago that was. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
I don't think I think they took the watch back too.
So you had, so you did the experience there in the water, and you had another survival. There was a cold weather thing, wasn't there, that you guys had to do out there?
There's a winter thing.
Wherever it was. Where was that? What tell us about that one?
They used to do it up in Siberia, where it's like really, really freaking cold. But this winter that we were doing it was the coldest winter Moscow had since the revolution. With their revolution, not 1776, but like it's still a long time. It was really cold. All right, we got down to minus 40 degrees. Now you might want to ask if it's minus 40 Celsius or Fahrenheit. But it doesn't matter. that's where the curves in the same. It's the same. They're the same down there.
Yeah, this is a learning point for the Celsius and Fahrenheit scales align when you get that cold. We had that experience. Did you go to Cold Lake?
Yes.
We'll talk about that another time. Let's stick to this one. But it got that cold. I couldn't believe it. It's like time stops. Everything stops. It's so cold. Nothing happens. Then it's that cold. I could not believe how cold it was when I got down to that temperature. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So you had that in Moscow, in Siberia.
They didn't have to go to Siberia because it was minus 40 in Moscow. Like, we just stay here. So actually, we went to a resort. when it was all done, we actually got to go into the indoor water park, which was great.
Wait. Okay, so I'm noticing a theme. When we talked about the American version of these water survival school or war and we were out at an Air Force base or Pensacola Naval Air Station, and we were staying in barracks, and you were up at the survival school. There was a SEER school, the evasion, and all that going on up in Maine. But it was all military run. You didn't bring anything. You weren't allowed to be like, no entertainment, nothing.
Bring a hat.
Your hat. You got to bring your hat, and you got in trouble for that, right? But this, it's like it's interesting. It seems like it's a cultural thing over there, where the Russians, well, this is our vacation. We're not gonna, we're on vacation.
Nobody. Well, actually, so the training team was inside this really warm dacha, this like cabin with a blazing fire going, and they had brandy and really good food. And we're out there. Much. Look, we're out there in minus 40, okay, and we don't even have a sleeping bag. We don't have a tent. We didn't have nothing. Nothing. All we had was there's a gun in the Soyuz, okay. It's a pretty cool gun. It's got 3 barrels. One is a rifle bullet in case you get attacked by a bear. The other is a shotgun. Like you put a cartridge in there, like if you're going to hunt for food, like quail or something. I don't know if they have quail in Siberia, but anyway, they had. And then the other one was like to shoot a flare for a signaling device. And but the stock of this gun was really clever. The stock, the part that goes here, this part, was detachable. Yeah. And it's a machete. It's a giant machete.
Wow! It's like the Swiss Army knife of guns.
Yes, exactly.
Or something you would see advertised on Saturday Night Live skit or something like that. The Bass-O-Matic. It does this. It does that. It does everything.
Bag of glass. It's great for kids.
Yeah. Great Halloween costume. Right. So go ahead.
So basically, it's an exercise in first of all, staying awake for 2 days, because there's no way you're sleeping without a sleeping bag or a tent in minus 40. It's impossible. In fact, I tried to lie down to go to sleep. Even though we did what we were supposed to do, we carved out like a block in the ice and we filled it with branches and leaves, all right, to create some insulation. And then we lied on that and in front of the fire.
That didn't work?
No,
it's so surprised that didn't work in minus 40. Don't worry, we're in here in the fire. Just get some leaves and throw it on the ice.
I lied down. I fell asleep there for like 5 minutes, and I woke up, and the entire side of my body was completely numb and just totally frozen. Just the entire. So I was like, I'm going to lose this arm, so I better not do that. So I stayed awake for 2 days.
You had no winter gear at all in this thing. You didn't have
all we had. Is what we carry in the Soyuz. So the only thing you have is, it's what they do is you first go out there and they take the capsule and they blast it with blow torches. they warm up the capsule as if you had just come back from space, and the heat of entry, warms it up. So,
Yeah,
so they
sense.
stimulate the initial condition, but it cools down pretty fast when it's in the snow and -40. So you got to hurry up and get out of your spacesuit. And then you do have, the only thing you have in terms of survival gear is like this old timey down, like a snowmobile outfit, like a one piece, like big fluffy Michelin Man one piece thing. like if you were a kid and you wore this thing to go skiing, everybody would be making fun of you. All right. It's like you would never get invited to the hot tub. It would just be like so hideous. So I'm wearing this thing, and that's all you got. And so you have to build a shelter. But the most important thing is using that machete to chop down wood and keep a fire going. It's basically an exercise in staying awake in horribly cold conditions and keeping a fire going to keep you alive for 2 days. All right, that's what it really is. So we're doing that, and we need to constantly get more wood, because the only way you're going to live is if you have enough fuel to burn. So it's my turn to go get some firewood. So I go off into the forest. All right, and they taught us.
Did you bring the gun?
The forest.
Did you bring the gun part of it, or just the machete?
They didn't want to give us the gun because we're on a resort.
What about the bear? There's no bear. Yeah.
There's no bear in the resort. They have a fence.
So you can see the resort from where you were?
Yeah, I can see the guys like drinking the vodka in front of the fire, like right there, eating like a big turkey dinner or something. It's torture. It was just hazing. This is all just hazing. And so I'm going off into the forest, and I see this massive tree. Okay, it's a birch, and they taught us that birch is like one of the best woods for that. It'll burn like a really hot, good, clean burning fire, and that's like a desirable wood. So I'm like, aha! So I see this massive thing. It's like the tree at Rockefeller Center, right? It's like a huge, monstrous birch tree. I can't even see the top of it. It's so tall. I can't see the top. But I start whacking at it with my machete. All right. And for hours.
You sure it was a tree? You sure it was a tree?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I start hacking at it with this machete to try to chop down this monstrous tree.
Yeah.
And I'm at it for hours, and my arm is getting sore, and I switch to my left hand. I'm hitting it with my left hand. I'm going to the right hand, and I'm working at it. And finally, after like exhausting myself, the thing starts to fall down. But I chopped it on this side. And look, I grew up in Jersey, okay? I'm no lumberjack. I don't know what the hell I'm doing chopping down a tree. So I thought it was going to fall this way, all right? Because I chopped it on this side. I thought it was gonna fall, but it goes, boom! And it goes like the wrong way. And it falls down. And it falls right on the fence to the resort, and it boom, kind of impales itself on the fence, and this giant tree is now knocked down the fence and is blocking this road, right? And I'm like, oh shit! So
what time of day is this? Was it middle of the night?
This is like probably like 8 o'clock at night or so. But there's some poor guy.
It's dark. It's dark out. Yeah,
it's dark. But then there's this poor guy in like a little Russian like Lada, this little tiny crappy Russian car, and he's like trying to drive down this road, and he gets to the tree, and he's like laying on the horn. He's like,
what was he expecting?
So I run back, and I get the other guys, my 2 Russian cosmonauts.
Yeah,
and so I get them.
You're still wearing this outfit, by the way. You're wearing the outfit the whole time. You're wearing your outfit.
The 3 of us, we look like 3 Smurfs. I mean, it's the 3. So I get the 2 other cosmonauts, and I'm like, guys, I need help. And they're like, what, Kate, what's the matter? And they're like, just, I need help. I was trying to say it in Russian. I was like, telling them I need help. So we came up there, and there's a guy with his car. The commander was like, oh, God, what's wrong? And so we with 3 of us managed to pick the tree up, clear it from the fence, and get it off the road so the guy could drive and go through. And then I'm like, well, guys, hey, at least we're gonna live, because we got all the firewood we could ever want with this thing. And the commander just goes, and he points to the very tip of the tree, which I couldn't see from the ground because it's so huge, and it's all green. There's leaves on it. which means the thing is not going to burn. And I'm like, well, you think we could still use it? And he's like, "Niet." and so we just left it there. And it's still probably sitting there.
At least I was thinking you probably stayed warm trying to cut that thing down with all that exercise you got hacking away at it.
That's true. It worked for me. It worked so good for the other two guys, but they had nothing to keep them warm because I spent all the time working on a piece of firewood that was useless. But
well, it could have been. I thought when you were telling the story, that's what I was saying. You sure it was a tree. I thought maybe you got like a telephone pole by mistake or something like that. But here, you didn't get the right tree apparently, but still.
Yeah, at least it was a tree.
That's pretty funny. All right. Well, I think we're out of time. We had
one thing to wrap this up.
Let's finish this up. Finish it up, man.
One thing to wrap
do not rush. This is good. Do not rush.
Okay. All right. One more thing. So, so now you got a lot of time to kill as you're trying to stay awake and stay alive for 2 days, and you can't sleep. So we started like teaching each other how to curse in each other's languages. So I got some really good Russian.
Who are you with on this one, Garrett? Set us up.
I don't want to give the names. I want to protect the guilty.
So it's not Tim and Max anymore.
No, it's just me. It's me and 2 Russians. Okay.
You and 2 Russians. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So I'm teaching them how to curse in English, and they're teaching me how to curse in Russian, which was nice. So later they came to America. Okay. And I took them to a baseball game. All right, the same 2 guys. And we're watching an Astros game in Houston, and we're at Minute Maid Park. Back then it was Minute Maid Park, and we're standing in line to get some beers. And there's some big Texas dudes with the whole thing, the boots, the giant buckle, the belt buckle, the cowboy hats, whatever, and big dudes, and there were like 6 of them. It's standing in front of us in the line to get beer, and so this guy, this Russian cosmonaut, in a really loud voice, he turns to me and he goes, "Got it. Tell these douchebags to hurry up." Not now. Bad time. Bad place. Not now.
What happened? You talking to me?
I think they just started laughing. I'm lucky. I thought they were going to start swinging, but they just started laughing, and we eventually got our beers, and everything was fine.
That's funny. That's funny. So that's another form of survival training. Saying something like that in Texas to somebody.
That's more risky than minus 40.
That's a much more dangerous situation than being outside of wherever you were at, the Holiday Inn over there. I love the guy with the horn. Hey, move the tree. I wonder if he was trying to get the tree to move on its own, or hey, somebody, you get the tree out of the way. That's funny. All right, man. Well, I think we're kind of wrapped up here. I'm seeing zeros on our clock, so.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna wrap this one, Garrett, and
let's wrap this one. I think that's another one in the books, and then I want to hear about all your survival stories on the next episode.
All right, fair enough deal. And so, thanks for listening, folks. You've been listening to Mike and
Garrett.
It's your cue, Garrett, and we are. See if we can say it together. Ready? We are two funny astronauts. We can't synchronize. There's too much of a time delay.
We're funny.
Anyway, thanks for listening, folks. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
See you next time.